Hey everybody, this is Jim, the Tabletop Engineer, and welcome to a new video. I like to attend gaming conventions, and one of my favorite things to do at gaming conventions is to play war games. I especially like to take custom terrain that I have made. Now, if you've watched any of my previous videos, you may recognize some of my previous custom terrain, like this one, or this monstrosity. Now, here's the thing. They're fun, and they are definitely eye-catching, and they definitely lend to a more enjoyable game. But they do have some issues. They're big. They take up a significant amount of space in my car when I need to travel and I want to take these. And they don't break down into pieces, not intentionally. Second, they're made of mostly foam. So they do break into pieces, not when I want them to. They're fragile. Third, they are very light and they tend to shift easy. So when you have miniatures placed here and there in scattered terrain and somebody accidentally bumps it, everything tips over. So for some time now, I've been wanting to address these three main issues I have with this large foam terrain. I've put some thought into it and I've made some prototypes, and I've finally got what I'm calling a skeleton framework for future creations. Now, before I show you the final result, let me take you to my computer screen and show you how I designed the prototype and how I made it. Okay, I don't want to get too deep into this because this is not a tutorial video on how to use certain software, but just so you know, I'm using a program called Inkscape. It's free. It's kind of like Adobe Illustrator, and what I do is anytime I'm going to make something with my laser cutter, I typically go here to design it. Now, there are times I will do it within an application called Tinkercad, and I'll be talking about that soon in an upcoming project. But right now, I just want you to understand how I designed this skeleton prototype. So the first thing I decided was I wanted it to be 3 foot by 3 foot. So each one of these squares is 12 inches by 12 inches. So if I click on it, you'll see it says 12.072, but that's just the thickness of the line. I thickened the line so that you'd be able to see it better in this video. But normally you can reduce it almost to 0 and the laser cutter will make a very fine cut. So I've got my 3 by 3. These are going to be cut out of 1/4 inch plywood, which is going to provide some weight. And they're also flat, so I can customize them any way I want. I can paint them, glue down terrain, add sand, rocks, foam, whatever I want can be glued to these. And they're definitely much more rugged than foam tiles. All right, so knowing that I'm going to cut these out of wood and they're going to be 9 individual tiles, I need a way to keep them together so that they don't separate. Now, a lot of people would use magnets, but for those of you who know me, you know what I'm going to tell you. And for those of you who don't know this, I'm going to tell you. I am extremely allergic to super glue. So typically the way you add magnets to terrain to keep it together is you use magnets. Well, it's very hard for me to do that because I just don't like to use super glue. So I wanted a way to keep the 9 tiles together. So what I've come up with is I'm also going to be cutting these little frames. These are each 12 inches long, roughly, and you'll put one here and one here, and 2 on this side, 2 on this side, and 2 on this side. So I'll need 8 of these in all, 8 of these squares. And then for the corners, I've created these little custom pieces that will go here. I need 4 of those. And what you can't see is I've added these diamond cutouts that will allow these to sort of hold together with the piece next to them. And it's not, it's not perfect. It's not going to be probably as good as magnets, but for me, it's enough to hold the 12 tiles close together. Once I got all these designed, next what I did was I combined the 4 pieces together and the 8 pieces together like this. And why did I put them together kind of like that? Well, it saves material. When I'm cutting out on wood, by putting them up against one another like that, instead of just individually, each one, it's going to save material. The other thing is, by combining them like this, they all share a line. Like this piece right here and this piece share this edge. So I only have to cut once here, not twice. And that saves on laser cutting time. And you can see I also did that with these 8 pieces. I just stacked them one against each other. I'm cutting 8 pieces, but I'm only making 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 long cuts. So this is what these 9 pieces and these pieces are what I sent to the laser cutter to create my skeleton framework.
Check out the new RPG and Wargame newsletter. Each week, the Tabletop Engineer shares news, products, Kickstarters, and much more related to the gaming hobby. It's free to subscribe, so check out the link in the video description below to sign up.
So here it is. This is a 3x3. Each of these squares right here is 12 by 12. Now you'll notice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are halves, 6 by 12s. The reason I did that is I can put in my laser cutter a 2-foot by 4-foot square of plywood. But what that means is, because these are 1 foot by 1 foot, and sometimes the edge of the wood is a little messed up, it actually takes me 2 full sheets of 2-foot by 4-foot plywood, 1/4 inch, to cut 9 of these. And so I learned that to save wood, I could break some into halves to maximize the number of pieces in a 2x4 sheet. Now what I can do is I can leave these alone, or I can glue them. Wood glue will hold these so tight they will not break. You would have to physically break it over your knee. Wood glue is so strong in bonds right here. So I haven't decided if I'm going to glue these together or just leave them like that. I probably will glue them together. The main reason being is I want to be able to stack all 9 squares vertically, and they're almost 1/4 inch. So if you do the math, 8 of these plus 1, 8 times 1/4 is 2 inches. So stacking these will be 2 1/4 high, which is totally portable. Now that's not counting any surface texture you might add. You know, paint's not going to add a whole lot of thickness, but if you add any kind of texture like sand or anything like that, it might add to the thickness a little bit. Now let me show you how I did the, this is a prototype, and I've already got the new version done. You'll see I took this from Thomas the Train Toys. The tracks use a shape like this to keep the wood pieces locked together. And it does a really good job. It holds the entire frame together, keeps the pieces from slipping. When I originally did it, you'll see I have a piece here. This piece is 1 millimeter longer here and 1 millimeter longer here, and it was causing these to be too loose. I wanted a more tight fit, so I just reduced this by 1 millimeter and that end by 1 millimeter, and I did that for all 4 corners, and it pulled everything tight. Now it doesn't look tight right now, and that's because I found my other issue. When you have a round lock like that, the wood can move. See that? So what I've done, and you'll see it in future videos, I've gotten rid of the circle and I've put 2 diamonds, 2 prongs that go in, and they hold this much more sturdy so that it doesn't move like this. And what I've ended up with is a frame, a 1-inch wide frame that goes all the way around, which I can paint. I can paint it so that it frames the inner 9 squares and makes a nice border. I was going for something that would be nice looking on the table. Could you leave out the frame? Absolutely, but then you've got to come up with a method to keep the squares together. I could have put some sort of puzzle piece into the wood, but I just thought that would kind of break up the overall look I was going for, especially if you're going for like a consistent, like an alien landscape or something. You don't want to have these little puzzle pieces. And also, when you put the puzzle pieces in, you limit the orientation that the wood can go in, because you might have, you're going to want two that are male and two that are female, and depending on how you orient them on the four sides, that will limit you to how you can rotate that piece. Not bad. I mean, I could take 9 squares, which is 2 1/4 high, and all these corner pieces. There's 4 corners and 8 of those, and I could put that in a grocery bag, a little plastic grocery bag, and tote it wherever I need it to go. Now, here's what's another interesting thing. When I play war games, sometimes I like to play on a 2 foot by 2 foot area. And to do that, you just take out, I'm not going to do it here, but just trust me, you don't have to do any special cutting. You just take the corner up to here, and you only need 1 of these, not 2, and you just move it, and you will create a 2 by 2 play area that is framed. So it works well with 2 by 2, 3 by 3. You could go 4 by 4. I'm not going that big. Unless I find a game that really I feel like I need 4 by 4, I'm going to stick with the 3 foot by 3 foot. I hope you like this. I hope this gives you some inspiration. If you can think of some ways I might improve this, let me know. I don't want to spend too much time on this. I'd rather be playing the games. So once I've locked in the design, if it works, I'm not going to be changing it a whole lot. So there you go. This is nothing, record-breaking, anything new that probably hasn't been done before. It's just something that I wanted to make my gaming experience portable and a little more durable, and also modular. I wanted to be able to switch out the 12-inch squares with different colored terrain, types of terrain, things like that. Now, being that it's wood, takes paint really well, acrylic or spray paint or whatever you want. But the other nice thing about it is foam. If you want to glue XPS foam to it, it works great. You can use standard PVA glue, and then once you paint over it, it'll hold it. There's lots of things you can do with a 12-inch by 12-inch panel that you could go 3D instead of 2D. But I'm going to start small playing with this. I'm first going to do some textured terrain, nothing fancy, and then I'll use placeable terrain to define the game in a better way. If you have any questions, post them in the comments below. If you have any suggestions on how you might improve it, post it. Somebody might read it and see this design and then think your suggestion is good and do something different. I know one question is going to come up, and the question is going to be, will I sell this? I don't know. It's pretty easy and fast to cut out and ship. It breaks down into 1x1s. I mean, a box would carry this just so easy, and postage wouldn't be all that bad. The expensive part is the plywood. It's not expensive, but I would have to figure out like how much wood it takes, although for a 3x3 I know it takes 2 of the 2x4 plywood planks, and then of course there'd be laser time and stuff like that. But maybe if this is of interest to somebody, post it in the comments. If enough people ask, maybe I will bundle it and sell it as a kit, which is really what it is, because it's just going to come in all wood, and then you take it and do what you want with it. But again, the 1/4-inch wood is just really nice, heavier placement of a tile, and I think they will also endure better than foam. They certainly won't break in half. And once you paint it or put any texture on it, if you coat it with a clear varnish or Mod Podge or whatever, it's going to lock that paint in and make that piece really strong. This is not MDF. MDF, if you get water on it or paint, too much paint because it's liquid, can cause MDF to warp. This stuff won't do that. It's flat and it stays that way. All right, that's all I have for this video. This is Jim, the Tabletop Engineer. I am so glad to be back. Do I have more projects to share with you? I have been queuing them up. I've got video shot. I've got stuff in here. Yes, I've got plenty to share with you. So consider me back. I may go to a bi-weekly or every 2 weeks releasing a video instead of weekly. I'm just not sure yet. All right, that's all I got. Until the next crafting video, this is Jim, the Tabletop Engineer. Everybody, take care.